Code Agents, welcome. Today we've got our first guest to Random Acts of Coaching. And we've got Shon Kokoszka. Shon, thanks for being with us, man. I really appreciate it.
Hey, Tristan, my pleasure, buddy. Thank you for having me.
It's super awesome, buddy. I love the topic. You're doing it all wrong. Team structure and compensation model. That's beautiful. So we'll get into that. I just want to tell everyone, just in case you don't know who Shon is, I've known Shon for, well, I've known of Shon for about 7 years now. And we didn't actually start talking until about 3 years ago. But the first time I ever heard Shon speak, I was blown away. It was at a family reunion event at Keller Williams, where he was using his dialogue skills, his scripting, and it was so refined, and it was really cool to see. I was in the audience, and it was beautiful. So since then, Shon, you've created an amazing coaching platform called Icon. Can you tell me a little bit about that before we get started?
Well, Icon is based in the proven best practices of those real-world icons that are actually doing it. You know, many of the people on the webinar right now know that we do the Icon of the Month interview. So there's a lot of pre-work that goes into that. I'll fly out to these people's offices. I'll interview their direct reports. I'll look at their systems. I'll find out what's working and, more importantly, what hasn't worked. And as a result, what I've been able to do is assemble all of this knowledge of all the icons of our industry into what I call the proven best practices, things that you can implement immediately in your business to increase your production as well as your profit.
Nice, man. So you go into it and kind of like break it down on the back end and create a blueprint of what's worked for them and then apply it to the agents that you're coaching. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly right. Yes. So again, it's based on proven best practices, and it's not maybe some of those higher level topics like Mark Spain. He's one of our clients, and the guy will close 3,100 transactions this year. The guy's got 130 billboards around Atlanta. That's not necessarily the model for most agents, right? Yet here's the key. We go back, we say, Mark, let's rewind the tape. Okay, you're brand new to the business. What did you do first? What did you do second, right? And he didn't start with 130 billboards. He started with one and then split test it, found the right messaging, and then lean into it to apply additional resources. And then, of course, that requires leverage. We're going to be talking about those points today as it relates to leverage. And Tristan, I got to tell you, buddy, that is my favorite word. In fact, every year I pick one word that we're going to focus on. And for the last 2 years, it's been leverage. So leverage comes in 4 basic categories. Let me just describe it quickly. First, it's through models. And what I'm talking about is your lead generation models, your lead follow-up models, your economic model, all of those models that need to be assembled within your organization to make it hum. Second would be leverage through technology. And we get to vet various technology. As you know, there's a new platform coming online every other day. And so we vet that technology. And then, of course, we recommend that to our clients, those that are, again, going to get them the results that they're after. The third would be leverage through systems. Now, systems are nothing more, nothing less than a standardized process that produces a consistent and predictable result. So what we get to help our clients do is systemize their sales process, meaning they do it exactly the same way every single time, modified only for the natural behavioral tendencies of their prospect, yet they get that consistent and predictable results through these proven best practices. And then finally, it's leveraged through people. And we're going to spend an inordinate amount of time on that today. And we've just got a very short window. So in a moment, I'm going to put up my email address. I'll encourage you guys, email me directly. I don't mind. Just email me. I'll be happy to reply to you just as soon as I possibly.
What's your email address? That way I can put it into the chat.
Thank you. It's Shon, S-H-O-N, at iconcoachingrE.com. The RE is for realestate.com.
Coaching.re. Perfect. Coaching.
Shon at iconcoachingrE.com.
All right. I'm just sharing it with everybody. And then while I'm sharing it and you prepare here. So Random Acts of Coaching is this, everyone. It came from an idea that Nick and I had and said, you know what? There are so many coaches out there that are telling you they can help you out. But we've narrowed it down to just a few that can help you out in the group through webinars and through these Facebook Lives that it'll be able to coach you in a sense, kind of like for free. And if you want to take it to that next level, you can always join their coaching company as well. So first, we've got Shon. and we really appreciate him going first. Like I said, he's top caliber. And Shon, you can take it away, bro.
Right on. What I'm going to do, Tristan, I want to just do a screen share real quick because, a lot of this stuff is visual and many of us are visual learners. Can you verify for me that you can see the screen?
I can see it, man. I even see your email there, Shon at iconcoachingre.com.
I love it. Okay. Well, first I want to talk about the challenges because we've all been there. Those of us that have attempted to build a team and you train this person up, you sharpen their skills, and then it's as though they get drunk on the wine of their own success. They think, well, I'm the reason that it's successful. And then they end up leaving you. And of course, you justify it and say, that's one of the greatest compliments somebody can give me is to leave because I've trained them so darn well. However, how would you like them to stick around? How would you like them to stay for an extended period of time and help you build your empire? And that's really what today's session is all about. Now, we're going to go through the evolution of a team. And before we do that, I just want to talk through some of the challenges that realtors face when they're attempting to build this team. And the reasons that they can't build a business, and let's face it, until you get to the what we call the they do it phase, you really don't own a business. You really own a job with a heck of a lot of responsibilities, right? Yeah. So rather, let's talk about building a business. And the first reason is that they're control freaks. Now, one of the ahas that I'd encourage you to get your arms around today is that in business, you don't need to be a control freak. What you need are controls. So I'd encourage you to adopt the Susan Scott decision tree, meaning imagine a tree out in the middle of a wide open field. It's fully grown and it's in full bloom, right? If that tree, well, if it loses a leaf, it's not going to die. If it loses a twig, it's not going to die. Or even a branch, that tree will survive. However, it loses the trunk and the root system, well, that tree's a goner. So what are the leaf decisions? What are the twig decisions? What are the branch decisions within your organization to set protocol around each of those decisions? As a simple example, when I was active in selling real estate before I went full-time trainer, my client care manager who would negotiate all of our inspection issues, I pulled her aside and said, listen, if you can solve the inspection issue and keep the deal together and it's going to cost you less than $100 or $500, just write the check. Don't even bring it to my attention. I don't want to be bothered with it. See, I recognize the time value of money, and to get that buyer back in the car or put that home back on the market, the amount of time and energy that has to be expended in doing such an activity, it's definitely worth writing the check for $500, right? Yeah. Now, you'll like this joke, and it describes being a control freak pretty well. You like knock-knock jokes, buddy?
Dude, I love my daughter all day and my son. Knock, knock. So go shoot.
Right. Knock, knock, buddy.
Who's there?
Control freak. Now, this is the part where you say control freak who?
Control freak who?
All right. So next, they fail to set expectations. Oftentimes their teammates think they're doing a great job, right? And yet because the appropriate expectations weren't set, well, unfortunately, people think they're doing fine and they're really not. And what happens, the relationship deteriorates. So there's really 6 areas that we have to set expectations around with each of our teammates. And if I have time, I'll get to them today. Third is they don't have a system to recruit talent. Now remember the definition of a system. It's a standardized process that produces a consistent and predictable result. So having a system in place to recruit talent to your organization is absolutely critical. Otherwise, it's just done by happenstance and you happen to end up with this untalented person and they end up costing you a lot of money.
Well, I think what the systems do on number 3 or the system section, it's just that it's really hard to get to that point. I'm telling you from personal experience. And building up that system, knowing which one it is that you want to go with, it's like, well, which one do you choose? How do you even get there, right?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up too, Tristan, because oftentimes when I'm in a seminar environment and we're talking through systems development and standard operating procedures as well as accountability structure, a lot of times people will approach me after the fact and say, okay, Shon, what systems should I focus on and implement first? And the challenge is that it's different for everybody who's listening to this webinar, right? So here's my input. Recognize that a frustration in your business, well, first off, let's stay out of victimhood, right? Because it's not you, it's not your people, it's not the clients or prospects, it's merely the lack of a system. So this keeps us out of the blame game, right? Something happens, it frustrates you, right? What you end up doing then is you pull your team together and say, yes, this happened. It was frustrating. I'm not blaming anybody. However, I am blaming the lack of a system. So what can we do to make certain that it never, ever happens again? In fact, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in the next couple of points here. First, they really don't set their team up for success. Like, for example, I see realtors, they engage with an OSA, outbound sales associate, because lead generation, let's face it, it's something that most people don't really like to do, yet it's a necessary activity for you to grow your business. Yeah. So since they don't like to do it, what they end up doing is they find some success, they have a little extra money, so then they're going to hire somebody to do that for them. And they hire them on board and say, well, here's maybe some things you should know. Now go conquer the world. And unfortunately, that person fails miserably. Now, I've got good news, I got bad news. The good news is you can effectively delegate lead generation and grow your business exponentially. I've helped many people do it. The bad news is that you get to develop the system first. So aligning with a mentor, an accountability buddy, or a coach is a great way to help make that happen in a short period of time. So point number 5, they have this fix mentality. And I touched on this a moment ago, where they show up at the office and they feel more like a firefighter than they do a professional realtor, right? I'm going to put out that fire. I'm going to put out this fire. Oh, there's another fire. I'm going to put that out, right? Rather than being a firefighter, adopt a fix, prevent mentality. Meaning something that happens is frustrating. You identify there's a lack of a system. What step do we need to add to the process to make certain that that issue never, ever comes up again? So guys, those I believe are the 5 main reasons that realtors are not successful at moving through these 3 phases of business development quickly. So the first phase, I do it. I'm an independent agent. I'm doing everything by myself. I have no leverage, right? Yet then we find some success and we begin hiring people to delegate what I call the 80% work in this business. You know, Pareto's principle, the 80-20 rule. Yeah. See, I believe that is as true as the law of gravity, meaning 20% of your activities will yield a minimum of 80% of your results. Yet I see realtors go through this cyclical kind of lifestyle of production and income. Meaning in January, maybe I don't have many pendings, so I'm going to push away from that pain. I'm going to get on the phone. I'm going to lead generate like a madman. Mm-hmm. And as a result of that lead generation and lead follow-up activity, well, then I start getting some deals under contract and pending some homes and things like that. Yet toward the latter part of January, I get sucked down in the weeds because I start focusing on that 80% work. I'm holding the hands of my clients. And what happens to lead generation at that moment, Tristan?
Oh, dude, because everybody knows what happens. And at that point, I was looking at this as a way to really increase the consistency, right? Because that's been the biggest issue for a team or even individual agents, right?
No doubt about it. So since they're sucked down in the weeds throughout February, getting these deals to close in February, January was mediocre at best. February was awesome. Yet because they stopped lead generating, then March is terrible and April's awesome and May's terrible. Guys, that's a short road to burnout. So those that are smart, exactly. Those that are smart, they find some leverage to delegate some of that 80% work so they can maintain focus on the concentration phase or the lead generation phase of their business. So that's when we step into the we do it phase. And then ultimately, and this is the goal, I believe, of most people in business, is to get to that they do it phase where I'm successfully leveraging people, technology, models, and systems and making more and more money month after month after month. So let's talk about how to do this. And before we dive into the organizational structure and all of that, I just want to walk you through our proprietary methodology around business planning. See, I believe clarity is king. And this simple strategy, guys, I want you to take some notes, will provide you with the clarity to take massive and appropriate action. So it'll also help you create alignment within your team if you've got one. And if you don't have a team, it'll help you develop what your future organization really needs to look like. So let's dive into this. So this is a 1-page, very simple business plan. And by the way, most of the clients that we onboard here at Icon, they'll send us their business plan. And I can tell you the lion's share of those business plans are in excess of 5 pages. Heck, some of them even 15 pages or more. I mean, it takes you an hour to read it, let alone understand what to do once you're done reading it. And I think if it's more than 1 page, you're spreading your focus a little bit too thin. And you're giving a little bit of attention to every area on that business plan. Rather, a 1-page business plan, gang, that's all you need. It's not like you're taking this business plan to the bank to get a business loan, right? You just need it to provide you with clarity. So let's just say, and I'm just going to complete an example, and I like round numbers. So let's just say that the expectation for 2018 is to close 100 transactions. So again, the ETA stands for expectation, targets, and actions. Now let me digress, see, because this expectation, I believe that's just a better word for the word goal. Meaning, when I set a goal, Tristan, it almost creates like uncertainty. Like I might not accomplish that, right? And it opens that window of doubt, and I don't like doubt in my business plan. So rather, I call it an expectation because it shifts my mindset, it shifts my energy. I just expect it to be accomplished. So in this case, the expectation is to close 100 transactions. So target one, and we've made the decision that we're going to go 60% listings, 40% buyers because listings are leverage, right? So we're going to close 60 listings. By the way, I've identified Bill on my team, who's a talented listing specialist, and I'm going to assign that target to Bill. And then Jane, she's going to be in charge of closing 40 buyers this year. And then my operations manager, John, he's going to help me with the team, the tools, the systems, the models, the leverage, in essence, necessary to complete targets 1 and 2. And undoubtedly, Tristan, when you accomplish these 3 targets, well, the expectation for the year will be accomplished. Yes?
Yeah, definitely, man.
Okay, so then let's get into the actions. And we're going to go to Bill and say, okay, Bill, based on your conversion rate from listing appointment to signed listing contract, given your numbers, you're going to have to go on 75 listing appointments. That's action 1. Action 2, Bill, your conversion rate is suffering a little bit, so I want to focus in on a lead follow-up plan, meaning if you on that listing appointment, you do not get a signed listing contract, what are you going to do step by step to make certain that you can increase that conversion rate after the listing appointment? And then, by the way, what are the tools, models, and systems you're going to require, Bill? Same thing with Jane. You're going to have to sign 60 buyer agency contracts. I want to see your lead follow-up plan, the tools, models, and systems. John, you're going to help me build out our org chart, identify the tools required for them to do their jobs well, and we're going to focus in on a marketing plan. Now, so this is a high-level ETA. This is for you as the CEO or the team lead or the rainmaker or whatever you call yourself. Let's set that aside for a moment. And let's go focus on Bill for a second, because Bill is the department head over the listings division. So let me ask you a question. What is the best part about Bill's job? That's right, that it's Bill's job, not yours. Right? So we're going to give Bill this target of closing 60 listings. Now, here's where the magic happens, Tristan. This is where we create massive alignment within our team. So we say to Bill, you're going to close 60 listings. So you take that target, yet the target becomes your expectation. The 3 actions that I've assigned to you, Bill, well, they become your targets. And that's top down at first, right? Yet it becomes bottom up, and we meet in the middle because we say to Bill, what are you going to do in order to get 75 listing appointments? So some examples of actions might be like 20 contacts a day to expireds for sale by owners and circle prospecting. Action 2 might be attending 1 networking event every single week. Action 3 could be knocking doors to expireds that are on the do not call list, things like that, right?
Yeah.
He's also going to outline the actions for his lead follow-up plan, and he's going to articulate the models, tools, and systems, things like a power dialer, a CRM tool, digital marketing, whatever. What is that going to look like for Bill? So ultimately, you end up with, in this case, 4 different business plans that are in absolute alignment with one another that provides your department heads with absolute clarity. Now, if you're a single agent, that's okay. You just stop at the CEO level, and you'll probably add a few extra actions. And you'll get a little more granular with it, a little more down in the weeds, and that's okay. Yet it's going to provide you with a structure to design your future organizational chart. So the question I always ask people is, does your current org chart, does it match your 2018 expectation or goal? So let's take a look at the hierarchy org chart. Usually that top circle, it says like CEO, right? Or maybe founder or something like that. Rather, let's take the E from the expectation and let's make that the top circle. And Tristan, in your organization, that's you, right?
Yeah, that is.
You represent the expectation. You're the visionary. You're going to cast the vision. Your T1 direct report for a realtor would be their lead listing specialist. T2 would be their buyer's agent. And T3 would be their operations manager.
Got it.
Now, whatever happens below this line, well, it's really none of your concern, because if you've hired the right talented person and compensated them appropriately, then they're going to focus on scaling out their particular division. So we're going to get into that compensation model here in a moment. Yet for the sake of time, let me just move on. see, there's this word that's a little bit elusive, right? This word success.
Yeah.
And if you had the time, Tristan, you took the time to ask all 70-some thousand members of LCA, what is your definition of success? How many definitions do you think you might get back?
Dude, I don't even know. Too many.
70,000 plus, maybe even 150,000, right?
Yeah.
So rather, and everybody has their own definition of what this word is. So I went to Webster's dictionary. I just looked up the word. I thought if I could understand it, well, then not only could I obtain it, I could help others obtain it. And the definition is really quite simple. They say that success is getting what you want, not what someone else wants, what you want. Now at Icon, we absolutely agree with that. And I'm going to walk you through a model of a high producing team. Just recognize you can stop anywhere you choose to stop. It's just about finding the right leverage to increase your organization to the point that you can make more money in less time.
Got it.
All right. So again, you can stop anywhere in this model that you'd like, yet, and don't let your mind go into overwhelm when you look at this picture.
Well, hold on. I have to tell everybody that's listening here on both, do yourself a favor and take a picture of this right now, because this is sweet, guys. One of the biggest questions that we get all the time is, well, look, I don't have an organization model. I don't know where to put people. I don't know. Here it is. Dude, this is beautiful. First, before you tell us all the details, where the hell did you get this? How did you create this?
It's just based on years of analyzing the missteps of some of our icons, as well as what has been successful within the organization. And then also recognizing how to compensate individuals to where it pencils out every time, and keeps them motivated not only on producing more, yet keeping expenses as low as possible and profits as high as possible.
Got it.
Plus, I'm going to show you how to take a person of talent, somebody that you've identified as a quote unquote empire builder, and slap the golden handcuffs on them for 5 years, meaning they're not going anywhere based on the compensation model that we're going to walk through today.
Ooh,
guys, this is going to be mind blowing. Okay. So let's talk about how do you get there, right? Because you don't just start there. I've never met anybody who first has climbed to the top of a mountain, turned around and looked and said, man, that was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. Nor have I ever met somebody who was just kind of set down on top of the mountain. You follow me?
Yeah, dude.
Let's talk about how to get there. So again, once you find some success, then you're going to start to look for leverage in that 80% work, the stuff that needs to be done, yet it doesn't move the needle or increase the income of the organization. So it's transaction management. Who's going to do that? Now, at first, I'd recommend that you outsource this, and they're going to charge you a flat fee per transaction to the point that you're closing 5 or 6 transactions per month. And then economically, it makes sense for you to hire somebody on full time. Up until that point, you're money ahead to just outsource that to a talented transaction manager. You don't have to worry about salary. You don't have to worry about benefits or taxes or anything like that. You pay a flat fee that comes right out of the commission.
Got it.
The next key hire for the smart ones, right, is they're going to hire a buyer agent. I was a buyer's agent gang for 10 years. I learned the models. I learned the system on working buyers, and I would consistently close over 100 buyer sides per year, year after year. So a buyer agent can be very successful in the right environment with the right systems. There's no doubt about it. Yet they're also time consuming working with buyers, right? Yeah. And that buyer might want to look at 15 or 20 houses before finding the right one. And you could write an offer and yours might not be accepted. That's a challenge. When you're listing specialist, well, you're in the catbird seat, aren't you? Everybody else is working for you. So let's move on to the next. Now, this is where I think most realtors make a mistake, is that they begin scaling out the buy side of their business. They might even hire a listing specialist or a listings manager or something before they really install the engine to make all of this work. So that engine is that OSA position. And let me be clear, because there's a lot of terms flying out there, OSA, ISA. What's the difference? Okay. OSA is outbound sales associate. So they are doing nothing other than outbound lead generation calls to expireds, FSBOs, circle prospecting on your behalf to schedule listing appointments. Now, the teams that I'm coaching across North America, we hold their OSA teams accountable to what we call the 2-10-40. That's 2 listing appointments every day. That's 10.
Wow.
Yeah, the identification of 10 nurture prospects per day and a minimum of 40 contacts per day. Now, your market area may not allow that. I do recognize, especially where you're out Tristan, the inventory is so stinking low. And every time you get a listing, you're getting 10, 12 offers being upbid, overbid, way above the list price. Is that right?
Yeah, for the median price range. But then we have the luxury market too, where it's like 10, 15, 20 million.
Right.
So it's very different. Question from the audience, man. It says, are we able to get a copy of the slides versus taking pictures of all of them? I don't know.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. If you'll email me at Shon, well, you already put it in the chat bar, right?
I'll put it again.
CoachingRE.com, gang. I'll be happy to share this with you. It's my pleasure. So please, you're going to have to take the initiative though and send me an email, and I'll send it out to you. All right. So that OSA position is critical, right? Now you hope when you make this first hire that they really like that role and want to take additional leadership on the team. It doesn't always happen though, and they might not be the right hire for that lead OSA position. If they're not, then it's your number one priority to identify a lead OSA. Now at this point, their job responsibilities, their job description, as well as their compensation model shifts dramatically. This is where they stop lead generating for listings every day and they begin lead generating for talent to join the OSA team. So at this point, I want to share with you one of the greatest ahas that each and every one of my clients gets eventually. And that is that when you compensate somebody based on their personal production, what are they forced to focus on?
Their personal production?
You got it, man. And when you compensate somebody based on the production of their division or their team, what do they then begin to focus on?
The team. Holy crap, dude.
Wow. Is that an aha?
That is an aha, bro. I've been doing it all wrong.
So when you shift their compensation model to be compensated on the production of others, then they begin focusing on the scalability of the model. All right?
That's smart, dude. I'm about to text my friends Barry Jenkins, Kevin Markarian, and Nick Baldwin to let them know.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So let's agree real quick, Tristan, that that OSA position is really hard to hire to. It's also even harder to retain that position. Would you agree?
Oh, 100%, dude.
I mean, who wants to be on the phone? Who wants to be on the phone for 5 hours a day experiencing no, just rejection after rejection, right? So it's a short road to burnout. And rather than fight that, guys, and look for that 1 in a million person who just loves to get up in the morning and experience rejection all day long, rather, let's work with it. Let's develop a model that this person can be successful without burning out. So in this case, the lead OSA hires the OSA, and we position them for success. We say, you need to get 10 listings for the team, and then you'll be promoted from OSA to then move over in the org chart to become showing partner. So again, that's a side step in the organization to become a showing partner, and they're going to service that buyer agent. In fact, they're going to work side by side with them. They're going to shadow them. They're going to help them follow up with the leads that are undoubtedly coming in, because remember, both of those OSAs had to get 10 listings for the team, right?
Yep.
So over the course of about a 60-day period, if you get 10 more listings, what starts happening to your telephone?
Dude, it starts blowing up.
No doubt. So what this OSA has done is they've really created a gap and a need for them to be on the team. In essence, they've just identified an open parking spot, right? Because now all of a sudden the leads are coming in, so the showing partner is going to step in, they're going to support the buyer agent, they're going to help them set up appointments, they're going to shadow them as they go through the initial counseling session, that first appointment with the buyer. They're going to help them prepare the buyer agency agreement, they're going to watch them present it to the buyer, and as soon as it's signed, that showing partner is going to put them in the car and drive them all over town until they find the home they want to buy. Then they're going to bring them back to the office. They're going to shadow the buyer agent again as they write the contract, as they present that contract to the buyer, to the listing agent. They're going to be part and parcel to that negotiation process. And all the while, not only are they being compensated, they're getting valuable education. Now, here's the point.
I have a question, man, because I know a lot of people are thinking it, but they're not saying anything. What about if we have our current model, right, that we've got? How do you present this and shift it over to this model? Because I like what you have here, and it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's actually relatively simple. It's first identifying the right talent for that direct report position. In this case, the the lead buyer agent, which is the next step, is when you promote the buyer agent to that lead buyer agent role. Again, when we compensate people based on their personal production, they're forced to focus on their personal production. You compensate them based on the production of others, they then start focusing on the scalability of this.
Got
so
it.
They're going to partner up with the lead OSA, and they're going to also recruit talent to join the OSA team. So anybody in a business development capacity that's going to earn a spot on your roster must first be an OSA. Then they'll be a showing partner to ultimately be promoted to buyer agent and or even a listing specialist, and you'll see that later in the model. Yet here's what we've done, Tristan. When we follow this model, we've not only created a self-propelling machine, meaning it's that electric car that drives down the highway and charges its own batteries, because remember, each OSA that joins has to get the team 10 listings before they can become a showing partner.
Got it.
And when they become a showing partner, then they're going to service those leads that are coming in. And once they've got 5 buyers under contract, then they're promoted to buyer agent. So we've also set them up for success because, Tristan, I know you'll agree with me that 90% of their success in this business, if not more, is going to be derived from their ability to connect with people on the phone, to establish rapport, and close for appointments. Would you agree?
That's 100% right, dude.
So by making them be an OSA first, what you're doing is you're gifting them with those skills, and they're earning money while they're doing it. And then as a buyer agent, there's really 3 areas of qualifying buyer prospects. The first, obviously, financial. Second, motivation. And third is the needs of the prospect. And their ability to determine the needs of the prospect and qualify those needs is directly determined by their knowledge of the market. So forcing them to be a showing partner and getting 5 buyers under contract, guys, they're going to know the neighborhoods. They're going to know the floor plans, the builders, the lot sizes, the age of construction, the school districts. They're going to know all that stuff. And you position them to be a successful buyer agent who's closing 3 to 5 transactions every single month.
Wow. That's smart, dude. So in essence, you're really giving them the training they didn't get anywhere else first and making them really sharp. I love it.
Exactly. And Tristan, you as the lead agent, how much time are you spending training these people?
Right now or in your model?
In this model. I mean, because your lead OSA, their job responsibility is recruiting, training, coaching, and holding people accountable. Your buyer agent is responsible for recruiting, training, coaching, and holding people accountable. So what are you really doing?
Here, I mean, you're not. All you're doing is just creating that whole vision and road that you want everybody to go on. Yep. Which is what I want to get to, man. I've been trying.
Okay, so let me get through the rest of this quickly because I know we're running short on time. Yeah. Yet now it's time to continue scaling out the OSA to floating showing partner to buyer agent role. And let's get you an EA because now, they'll manage your email inbox. They'll pick up your dry cleaning, get you lunch because you're still going on all these listing appointments, right? So you're busy. Now it's time to add a marketing coordinator because the listing inventory is increased. Then we're going to scale yet again, and we're going to add a listing specialist. This is where you get to stop going on listing appointments, and that's really an exciting place to be. And the listing specialist is going to hire another listing. You'll promote them to lead listing specialist.
EA is an executive assistant. Somebody had a question.
Yes. Sorry about that, guys. I was trying to hurry through that. I apologize. Yes, executive assistant, somebody who's just going to remove all barriers and obstacles from your path to allow you to focus on the dollar productive activities.
And every realtor needs one.
Undoubtedly. They keep your life on track, no doubt. So really, it's that simple to get there. And most of you are just 2 key hires away from making that happen. Yet then the question becomes, how do I retain these important people on the org chart? And what I mean by important people, it's that first line, right? It's your lead buyer agent, your lead OSA, and your lead listing agent. These are the business development people that are, boots on the ground, actually making it happen. So here's my input. Here's my suggestion, okay? It's what I call net profits interest compensation. So let's just say that I'm ready to promote a lead buyer agent. I would approach them and say, okay, based on last year's production, the buyer division, so it requires separate books, buyer side and listing side, okay? So the buy side of the business, and let's just say that it net $100,000. After all expenses, all commissions, everything, it net $100,000.
Okay.
So that becomes the floor because I'm gonna bonus you not based on what I've already done. I'm gonna bonus you based on what you bring to the table. So in this case, 100,000 would be the floor, meaning if we net $99,999 at the end of the year, you don't get a bonus. However, any dollar above 100,000, I'm going to share with you. And in this case, let's just say it's 20%, anything above 100 grand. Now, I'm also going to offer you vesting rights in 5 years, meaning provided you don't do anything stupid and get fired, or if you don't just up and quit one day, then you'll be vested in that profits interest bonus distribution after 5 years. So let's say over a 5-year period, Tristan, I hired you as my lead buyer agent, and you scaled that thing beautifully just the way we planned it on paper, and you grew it from 100,000 to 1.1 million net. Okay, so that, don't let it blow you away because I help people do this all the time. So you grow it to 1.1 net, and it's been 5 years, and Tristan, you come to me and say, Shon, it's been a fun ride, man. This has been awesome. And dude, I'm burned out. I want to retire. You're getting a bonus check for 200 grand and you're vested in that, meaning you could go sit on a beach somewhere and you're always going to get an annual distribution of 200,000 provided the company is profitable above 100,000 and up to 1.1 million. Yet the moment you choose to quit, you walk away from the commissions you're earning and you've now put a ceiling on your net profits interest distribution. So it's capped at 1.1 million.
Dude.
So you'd have to go out and find your replacement, train them, and we're going to offer them the same deal. I'm going to give you anything net above 1.1 million. I'm going to give you 20%.
So you just made an exit plan.
Yeah, a retirement plan.
Dude, this is sick. Where were you like 5 years ago, man?
So here's what you've done. First, you've motivated an individual who's a talented person to give you 5 years of their life as they move toward this retirement plan. You've provided them with the means to provide for them for their family for years and years to come. And you've also provided yourself with a layer of insulation in the event that that person that they hired as the replacement, if they begin to fail. See, because Tristan, let's say you're that first buyer agent, right? You've now grown it to 1.1 million net. You're getting a check for 200 grand. I'm retaining 800 of that plus the other 100,000 to begin with. So I'm getting 900. You're getting 200, right? Now you've hired this replacement. Let's just say that that person begins to fail.
Yeah.
So rather than netting 1.1 million, it looks like they're going to end up around 850 net. What are you going to do knowing that they're playing around with your nest egg, your retirement?
Dude, you're probably going to have to correct it, either fire them or correct it.
Yep. So Tristan would come back in to save the buyer side of the business, and I've given myself that layer of insulation, right?
Yeah.
And remember, that person's not vested for 5 years, so Tristan could come back in. He could fire that person, hire somebody else, or build it back up himself, or coach that person, train that person, whatever it takes. Yet Tristan's going to jump back in, and I won't have to get sucked back into the business, right?
Got it.
So we also do this on the lead OSA role, where we're going to give them 10% of net profits on the list side of the business, anything above X, whatever X is for you. And we'll also do it with the lead listing specialist. We'll give them 10% of anything above X net to the organization.
Dude.
It's important to base this on net, not gross. I've done a lot of studies around companies that base bonus on gross income, and ultimately every one of them that I studied failed.
I agree with you on that, man, because sometimes it's such a big difference. We don't know where all that money is going, whether you're purchasing online leads, doing mailers, and employees. So yeah, focus it on net. What you just did right here, Shon, you created a whole business for real estate agents. This is sick, dude. This is pretty sweet. As you're doing this, I'm getting a message from Janki Patel. It says that she says our business has grown like wildfire because they hired you as a coach.
Yeah, Junkie, good to see you, and thank you very much. Say hi to Heren for me too.
Dude, so that was sweet. A question from the audience. Linda Maxwell says, what is the job of the buyer's agent and how are they compensated?
Great question. Let me just go back a slide here. Okay, so let's talk through the compensation and what this really does in fact look like. So the OSA position, let's start there because that's really where the business starts. That's where this engine, the self-propelling thing starts to kick off. The OSA, you've got two choices. You can compensate them hourly plus bonus plus commission, or you could compensate them commission only. Now, most people are more comfortable commission only, yet if you're going to do commission only, you're going to have to give them a higher percentage. So if you paid them, say, minimum wage plus 10% of the gross commission on every listing that closes that they self-generated, that's one way to do it. Another would be that you're going to kick it up to 20%, yet there is no hourly wage. It's just a flat commission model.
Okay.
So flat commission. It's 20% to the OSA. And frankly, I'm a licensed real estate agent, and if I called each and every one of you and said, "Hey, listen, I got a listing referral for you," you'd probably pay me 25, maybe even 28 or 30%, right? Yeah. So giving up 20% to an OSA on a commission only model is not a terrible thing. You'll give 10% to the lead OSA, and in this case, you would retain 70% of every deal that you close. Yet, who's doing the lead generation for it? Well, they are, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about the floating showing partner. You're going to reimburse them for mileage. And I think in California right now, it's 55 cents per mile. I'd pay them a minimum wage type hourly, and then I would give them 10% of the gross commission. Now your buyer agent, now hear this, because you're now able to delegate through leverage the most time-consuming task of the buy side of the business, you as the rainmaker can get away with paying them less. In fact, I've got teams that are hiring buyer agents under this model at 30% of the gross commission. So you're giving up 10% to the showing partner, 30% to the buyer agent who's happy to do it because, let's face it, they're nothing more than a glorified ISA at this point, inbound sales associate, right? So they're converting leads, they're taking them through an initial counseling session, getting the buyer agency contract signed, and then once they find the home, they're writing and negotiating the offer. They're no longer spending their weekends driving buyers around or their evenings driving buyers around, right? So you can get away with paying them less. Then your lead buyer agent will retain 10% of whatever their team is doing in a gross commission plus net profits interest. So that lead buyer agent, if they're smart, they're going to focus on scaling this thing and growing this buy side of the business as fast as possible. Because if I've got, let's just say 10 buyer agents, every one of them doing 3 transactions a month, I'm getting 10% of 30 transactions as a gross income. And then at the end of the year, I'm going to get 20% of net profits on the buy side of the business. Guys, that's going to force this person to act like an owner, yet they don't have any stock or equity in your organization.
Somebody says, wait a minute, what's left for the broker or team lead?
50% on the buy side of the business. So OSA, once you've scaled through a listing specialist and a lead OSA, listing specialist and lead OSA, I'd pay them a salary plus a small percentage of commission, like 10%. So you got 10% going to the OSA, you got 10% going to the lead OSA, so you're left at 80, and you get 10% to the lead listing agent, lead listing specialist, you're left with 70% on the list side of the business of gross.
Dude, that's awesome. So this is being recorded, everyone. So if you missed some of it or aren't getting it, just, we'll send it out. We'll make it into a blog, and then we'll repost it into the group. So you'll have plenty of time to rewind it.
Yeah, and at Icon Coaching, we have all the compensation models worked frontward and backward, guys. It pencils out every single time. However, we save that for our coaching clients, of course. So if you're interested in investigating that, or if you want a copy of this slide deck, I see 7 or 8 of you have sent me an email so far. Feel free to send me an email at sean@iconcoachinre.com. I'd be happy to share that slide deck with you. And, if you want to jump on a complimentary business assessment call with us, I can share some of those compensation models with you at a deeper level so that you can really get your mind around it and learn how to apply those 4 categories of leverage. Remember, it's models, it's systems, technology, and people. And those that really get on in this world and accomplish extraordinary things have figured out how to do that. And compensation is a big piece of that. Like I think of my friend Mark Spain. I currently do a lot of training for their team. He's got 97 salespeople on his team, and he's done it by leveraging a model very similar to this, no doubt.
And you go into how to find talent once you're coaching people as well?
Absolutely. So proven best practices around, what are the best ads, where to place the ads, when to place the ads, how to vet those candidates as they come in, how to determine, are they the right key hire? Are they a leadership position, or are they below that first line of direct reports? And by the way, that first line, your key direct reports, I'd say slow down. I mean, that's a big, big decision, making that key hire. Yet below that line, I'd say speed up, go as fast as you possibly can. Quick to hire, quick to fire below that first line.
I agree. Audience, great info. They said, do you use any specific type of accounting software to keep track of all of these different splits?
Yeah, great question. As I said, we vet technology that's hitting the market every single day, and I've discovered one that is extremely inexpensive. In fact, it'll cost you half, if not a quarter, of what a traditional bookkeeper would cost. And it's all automated. It takes you about 4 minutes a week to manage it, and it's called RE Profit. So R for real, E for estate, profit, PROPHET.com. So check it out.
Profit like a prophet, like a biblical,
like a biblical based profit. Yes.
Oh, that's cool, dude. RE Profit. I just put it into the link there.
Yeah, cool.
Perfect. So look, guys, if you want to sign up to his coaching or just take a demo into what he offers, email him. Is there a number to call to, Shon, or just email or a website?
Yeah, it's 203-900 ICON, ICON, or 4266.
4266 to schedule a coaching call. Let me put that in there. Anything you want to add before we let you go, man?
Well, buddy, I just appreciate the extra time and allowing me to roll this out appropriately. I think we did a pretty decent job of letting people get their mind around this. And at the same time, I recognize I've left a few gaps. So if you guys have questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I wish I had more time to just really add value and pour into you guys. That's what really makes me tick. So thanks.
Well, that's what coaching's about, dude. So
yes, sir.
They can reach out to you.
Right on, Tristan.
Thanks, Shon. Appreciate it.
Last, buddy.
Everybody.
See you soon.
Have a great day.